you'll see this brand took on this funding and now they're doing $100 million a year revenue. But I see a lot of examples like that. And then I visit the founder and they're not making any real money. They're making the same,
Yeah.
making 100 million revenue and you took on 50 million funding. Like that doesn't mean anything. And on top of that, you have to report to a board. I don't report to anyone, which has its negatives and positives, right? So I take on the losses myself, right? I have to make hard decisions about staff and things like that at some certain points. But a lot of activity doesn't necessarily mean a lot of money. A lot of media coverage doesn't necessarily mean a lot of money. I mean, I don't want to name names, but I've had like Stanford MBAs come to me and they have all this press coverage and they wanted to do some partnership. And then 5 years later, I see it's all gone. It's all evaporated. They're gone. A lot of press coverage and funding doesn't mean anything. You just have to have a long-term vision
And
about where you're going.
that's a really interesting point that you raised, because it's like, okay, of course, not too many dependencies. That's really important. Being that one man show, one woman show, and of course, like sort of trying to aim for like a moonshot idea of $1 billion or whatever. At least start somewhere. Like you don't even have the skills to make $1,000 a month. How the hell are you supposed to make $1 billion? So I think those are amazing points. I think also one thing that you kind of alluded to this was that the unit economics. Like if you're selling for 10 and your cost of goods sold is $4, but your marketing cost is $8, you may have $100 million in revenue, but in the end, you're not going to make any money and you're going to go, this. So I think you raised a really good point there that someone could have $100 million in revenue, but if their unit economics don't work, they're not building a long-term business. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was a very valid point there.
The other thing I would say is a general observation I'm seeing now among the newer brands is that people taking investor funding for ideas that have no real scalability or intellectual property, I feel is a mistake. And I feel they're going to pay for that mistake later. So, for example, I've seen brands go on Shark Tank or raise funding from angel investors that are like, it's a dinnerware product. You're just sourcing it from a random person in India, and it's a dinnerware, right? You don't have any intellectual property that's going to result in any sale. You have no major moat except for your brand. You also don't have a repeat product where, if I buy dinnerware once, I don't need to buy it for the rest of my life, right? First, I don't understand why VCs are funding these in the first place. I would never fund anything like that where there's no clear exit. And then I don't understand why the entrepreneur is taking the funding. For the VC, I understand their motive. You just captured this 20-year-old guy's life for the next 15 years. So they'll prey on you like a shark. That's why it's called Shark Tank. Once I give you that money, you're mine. Your 15 years are mine now, right? For the entrepreneur, just for the vanity of saying I got funding from XYZ of how many crores or millions of dollars, right? That's a vanity metric. You just gave away your control on a product that actually should be run like a regular business. Now, if you invented a new peptide, which now when it goes into the latest shampoo is patented, it requires research. It has all types, many different design and utility patents you can file around it globally. 100% take outside funding, scale the hell out of it. And the VCs that are funding you, they're your partner, not your owner. You are in control, actually, because you've invented something, right? Or you have some type of other moat, that's defendable. But I do see that mistake being made again and again in CPG businesses right now, where if you don't have an innovation that's that has intellectual property, I would lean towards running it like a keep your day job, work on it on the side, and grow it slowly to eventually retain full control. And then let's say you started in your 20s, you will reap the fruit in your 30s. And then with full control, go on vacation, do what you want. Every month, it's enough money, good for you, because you don't have anyone looking here on your shoulder saying, make more, make more, make more. This month was not enough. This month, if you made 50 grand, isn't that enough for you? And that's 600 grand a year for you, right? That's good money for you, right? But the VC will always be here like make more, make more, make more, and then sell, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
they can replace you. I've seen it. I worked for a VC funded consumer brand startup from 2019 to 2023, and the CEO was replaced. I'm sure she didn't want that to happen, right? After all her work in the lead up to that funding, she was building her audience from 2012 to 2019, 7 years. And then she's funded for a 4-year period. They didn't like her performance. They swapped her out. So that can also happen. The VC is your
Yeah,
boss.
definitely. Like being very careful about if you're taking funding or not, and what are your actual reasons of
What's
taking
the
funding.
reason?
I think that's
Yeah. Why are you taking funding? What do you need it for? Because a lot of
100%.
times, if you just look at it from a macro perspective, just work your regular job. These things take time. You can do product development. It's a 6 month time frame. Do it on the side. Keep your job.
Keep your job.
Build it
Yeah.
on the side. Silently. You don't want to get fired from your job. Build it silently. Make steps to slowly build it. Get friends to do things that don't have the same job.